What does the Bible say about hanging out with sinners? Bible, PDF, quiz, unique Bible facts. What does the Bible say about hanging out with sinners? The Bible speaks about the importance of avoiding bad company, and it warns us to stay away from people who are living in sin. It does not, however, prohibit us from associating with sinners. In fact, it encourages us to reach out to them and share the message of hope and redemption with them. The Bible makes it clear that we should not be participating in or condoning their sin, but rather we should be showing them love and compassion. So, while it's important to be careful about who we choose to spend time with, the Bible also encourages us to reach out to those who are living in sin and show them the love of God. What does the Bible say about hanging out with sinners? Hanging out with sinners is a controversial topic in the Christian faith. Many people have different opinions about it, and the Bible has a lot to say about it. In this blog, we will explore the Bible's teachings on the issue of hanging out with sinners and what Jesus said about it. We will look at the dangers and the benefits of hanging out with sinners and how it can affect our lives. Finally, we will look at the Old and New Testament's perspectives on the issue and what we can learn from Jesus' example. What is a sinner? In the Bible, a sinner is someone who has committed an immoral act. The Bible defines sin as any act or thought that goes against God's law. This includes such things as murder, stealing, lying, and so on. The Bible also says that all people are sinners, whether they recognize it or not, because all of us have broken God's laws. Who is a sinner? The Bible is clear that all people are sinners. We all have broken God's laws and fallen short of His standard of holiness. No one is exempt from this. We are all guilty of sin and need God's forgiveness and grace. Etymology of the biblical word sinner. The word sinner has a long and complex history, and its etymology can be traced back centuries. While the concept of sin has been around for millennia, the exact origin of the word itself is not so clear. In this blog post, we will explore the etymology of the biblical word sinner, tracing it back to its roots in Hebrew, Greek, and Aramaic. The origin of the word sinner can be traced back to the Old Testament of the Bible, where it is used throughout to describe a person who has broken God's law. In Hebrew, the word for sinner is, which is derived from the root, meaning to sin or to miss the mark. This root is also found in Aramaic, where it is used to mean to sin or to trespass. In Hebrew, the word sinner is derived from the verb, which means to miss the mark or to transgress. This verb is found throughout the Hebrew Bible and is used to describe a person who has broken God's law. Additionally, the noun form is often used to refer to a sinner or someone who has transgressed. The Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, the Septuagint, uses the verb mu alpha rho tau nu omega, hamartano, to refer to sin or to miss the mark. This verb is derived from the noun mu rho tau eta mu alpha, hamartama, which is used to refer to a sin. From this noun, the adjective mu alpha rho tau omega lambda sigma, hamartolos, is formed, which is used to describe a sinner. Aramaic. In Aramaic, a language closely related to Hebrew, the verb, hata, is used to describe sin or transgression. Additionally, the noun form, hota, is used to refer to a sinner. This word is found throughout the Aramaic portions of the Bible. Sources of conflict. The concept of sin is one that has been debated and discussed for centuries, and the etymology of the word sinner is often a source of disagreement. For example, some believe that the word comes from the Hebrew root, while others argue that it is derived from the Greek mu alpha rho tau omega lambda sigma or the Aramaic. Ultimately, the origin of the word sinner remains a source of debate among scholars. Exploring the Bible's teaching on hanging out with sinners. The Bible gives us clear instructions about how we should interact with sinners. First, it tells us that we should not associate with those who practice sin. We are to have nothing to do with them. Second, it tells us that we should be kind and loving to sinners and show them God's grace and mercy. Third, it tells us that we should be a light to sinners and show them the way to God. Finally, it tells us that we should pray for sinners and strive to lead them to Jesus. How Jesus hanging out with sinners changed the world. One of the most famous examples of Jesus hanging out with sinners is when he had dinner with the tax collectors and prostitutes. This was a radical act in that time and culture, but it showed the world that Jesus was not just a religious leader, but a loving and compassionate one as well. It showed that God's grace and mercy extended to all people, no matter what their sins were. This was a powerful message of hope and redemption for all. Zacchaeus, Luke 19:1-10. Zacchaeus was a tax collector, which was a despised profession in Jesus' time. He was a wealthy man and was known for cheating people out of their money. Jesus encountered him in Jericho and invited himself to Zacchaeus' home. After spending time with Jesus, Zacchaeus was so moved that he promised to give half of his possessions to the poor and repay anyone he had cheated 4 times what he had taken. The woman caught in adultery, John 8 3-11. This woman was brought before Jesus by a group of religious leaders who wanted to test him. They wanted to see if Jesus would follow their interpretation of the law, which would have called for the adulteress to be stoned to death. Jesus instead told the religious leaders that the one without sin should cast the first stone. When the religious leaders left, Jesus told the woman that he did not condemn her and to go and sin no more. Mary Magdalene, Luke 8 1-3. Mary Magdalene was one of Jesus' closest followers. She had been possessed by 7 demons and was a known sinner in the community. Despite her past, she was devoted to Jesus and followed him everywhere. Jesus not only accepted her, but also cast out the demons from her, restoring her to health. The prodigal son, parable, Luke 15:11-32. The prodigal son was the youngest of 2 sons. He was known for being wasteful and living a life of sin. He took his inheritance and left home, squandering it on wild living. When his money ran out, he returned home to his father. The father welcomed his son back with open arms, showing mercy and grace to him. The woman at the well, John 4:4-42. This woman was a Samaritan woman who had been married multiple times. She was considered a sinner by the Jews and was shunned by her own people. Jesus approached her at a well and asked her for a drink of water. During their conversation, Jesus revealed that he knew her past and offered her living water. He then invited her to come and believe in him, which she did. What does God think of Christians hanging out with sinners? The Bible is clear that God wants us to show love and kindness to sinners. He does not want us to judge them or treat them differently than we would treat anyone else. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.